Yes! Yes, 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 yes! That was a goal! Goal! Striker! Eat that! And another! Bing bang, stick it in. Thank you and good night.
Twat! That was liquid football!
Shit! Did you see that? He must have a foot like a traction engine. Goal!
Hello everybody, it's your old friends at Monday Madness and welcome to the latest episode of the Liquid Football Podcast, where we're reviewing anything that's happened in the wonderful world of football. On this week's episode, I'm being joined by Neil to run down what could be an extinction event in the Premier League, as one of the big six is at serious risk of getting relegated to the Championship. We're talking about what's going to happen with Tottenham Hotspur this season, what has led to the situation that now finds himself in a knife fight between West Ham, Leeds United and Nottingham Forest, and maybe Wolves if they get lucky. How did they get here? What happens next? And hypothetically, could they genuinely see themselves in the EFL next season? And who could stay behind to get them out of it, if at all? We obviously have our halftime mini game called Winning 11. And we will be quizzing Neil on his memory of the 2015-2016 season. If you know, you know. And in our second half of our podcast, we're going to be talking about the Champions League and its new formats, the virtues and vices therein, along with what we think the new format has helped with in terms of match fixtures, how could it be improved, and what we think is going to make it to the final in the end. Now that we have our bracketology and we know what the paths are for the quarter and semi-finals for every team, we're also going to give a little bit of a brief discussion on the other two competitions in the Europa League and Conference League. And to wrap up the podcast, we have our hand of cods as ever, and a certain Here We Go merchant is our focal point of that discussion this time around. So hopefully you enjoy this episode of the Liverpool Football Podcast.
Goal!
All right then, so we're going to start off this podcast by talking about the relegation battle, because we focused on last week's episode mostly on the race for Europe and the kind of the, I guess, two-horse race now between Arsenal and Manchester City. Obviously, some of that has changed by the time that we've been recording. But what hasn't changed is the death spiral that the other side of North London find themselves in, which is quite frankly incredible. Now, obviously, there's been warning signs to this extent for the last while. Case in point that they finished in a similar position last year. But it has, the context doesn't really, do it justice here. Like, this is what I've described in our kind of show notes as a Premier League extinction event. This is like a big six getting relegated. It's something that hasn't happened before. And like realistically, like I was looking just kind of like for reference, and like what's considered to be the biggest relegation was Nottingham Forest in 1993. Sorry, 1994, because not like 5 years beforehand, that was the same team that won the European Cup. So that's a big drop off. Leeds United was recorded as one as well, considering they were like a European, like they were Champions League competitors in the quarterfinals, and then like 2 years later they were gone. Flash in the pan sort of stuff. But Neil, I suppose like my kind of opening question is where do you even start with this death spiral of Spurs? Because I think you can probably categorize it in a couple of ways, but what do you think is the real problem at Spurs at the moment, if you wanted to nail it down to one thing?
Jesus, no, it's just there's no identity at the club. They've no real sense of what they want to do, where they're going. It's kind of real fly by the seat of your pants sort of, let's make it up as we go along, let's all get relegated kind of thing, But it's just it's really shocking. Like, it's hilarious that like the longest holdout, as hilarious as this would be, the longest holdout in our group against Spurs getting relegated was like the Arsenal fan. Like, because for the longest time I refused to believe that this was even possible. I was like, look, they crashed down badly last season. They finished 17th, record amount of losses, record low points without getting relegated.
Yeah.
But like I think the main difference between last season and this season is that last season they were helped out by a historically bad relegation group.
Yes.
I think you told me a stat that like if the last three teams from last season all pooled their points together, they wouldn't have gotten higher than 12th. or something like that. Like,
It was something mental like that. Yeah, it was purely the fact that like collectively they were like they
oh, they
like
were
as a
awful.
squad they weren't able to like charge like one survival
No,
season as opposed to three.
I think yeah, and that was like the second lowest points collective total by the relegation group, which was only beaten by the season before that, which was the record low
Yeah,
points. So,
yeah.
but
There's been
now, now
I'm just trying even like looking at the season now. Yeah, there's something along those lines. Yeah, because I'm looking at like from Southampton 12. Ipswich was either like 32, 47. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. Like if you put all the points together, they finished 13th.
13
14th
fucking
actually,
hell. I
which
was
is
actually
mental.
giving them too much credit by
Yeah.
saying that. But they're now this season, the teams right, fine. Wolves are cooked. There's a lot of very interesting thought exercise articles flying around about Wolves couldn't do it, could they? No, they're not
Mm,
gonna fucking do it, lads, right? Chill the fuck out. But Burnley probably aren't gonna do it either. They're only 3 points ahead of them. But West Ham and Notts Forest,
yeah.
they're fighting for their lives, and they're actually hitting runs of form. West Ham have
Mhm.
attackers, and Nottingham Forest have a brilliant midfield. If they go down, that midfield is getting pillaged.
Yeah.
And yeah, and as well as Leeds as well. Leeds are only like 3 points above Spurs, and they don't want to get dragged into this. So they're surrounded by people that are all like in form and fighting,
Mm,
and they've not got a good run in. So the next 8 games, oh wait, 9 games. Apologies, they're on 29 games.
yeah.
So the next 9 games, a third of them are against teams that are chasing Champions League places. So
Mm.
they play you guys tomorrow, don't they?
Yes, I think it's tomorrow or Sunday. I can't recall, but yeah, this weekend more
Yeah, this
either way.
weekend
Yeah.
they play you. They've still to play Chelsea and they still have to play Villa. So let's face it, they're losing all of them.
I would like to think so anyway. Like I know Villa are kind of their kind of season is starting to look very Europe centric in a sense, but like that's I suppose I kind of the expected like Unai Emery Europa League, that's kind of tradition at this point. But yeah, certainly I'd expect like even this like that this very amorphous Chelsea team to make to give this Spurs team a hiding.
Exactly,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
So the they're losing all them. Then they got Sunderland away. They're gonna lose that. That's
Mm,
tough. Um, I'd say I think I said like then they got 3 other games against teams in and around them. So you've got
yeah.
your titular 6 pointers. And I was like, I don't think they're going to have a dead rubber kind of non need to win game in the Premier League until Everton, which is their final game, and they might already be goosed by then.
Well, I
So
think that is the thing, isn't it? Like it is like purely the fact like I think you nailed it there is the fact that like the people that are they're competing with kind of have more of a plan than Spurs do. Like as I
well,
said, I think West
it's
Ham
a
and
plan. You've
yeah, they
more
have
of
out
a
plan.
plan
Yeah,
than
that's true.
Spurs.
like realistically, like yeah, sure. Like Leeds is probably the weakest kind of squad out of those teams you mentioned.
Yeah,
But what they have been able to do is get draws. They've been able to get points or like
yeah,
enough wins to kind of keep going. Like, okay, granted, the football that they play might be kind of crude in that sense. Like it's kind of not to say agricultural stuff, but it is, you know, it's grisly enough. It's not exactly going to be like scoring technical points in that sense. But what I will do is hopefully is presumably get them to survive in the league, which is what they
yeah.
wanted.
Well, you look at Leeds' last 5 results, right? So they won one and drew two of their last 5 games, lost two.
Mm,
That one win was against Notts Forest, super helpful for Spurs there.
yeah.
So they
And of
beat
course
them
that
three
got that's
one.
what got Sean Dyche sacked in the end as well.
Yeah.
So
So, but then you look at the rest of them. So they drew 2-2 with Chelsea, drew 1-1 with Aston Villa, and then lost 1-0 to Man City and Sunderland. So
mm,
they're not getting they're not getting tonked here. Like it's
yeah.
not like Spurs where they're like showing up and getting dicked. Like
Yeah, yeah. I think that, well, that's also the other aspect of it as well. Is that like Spurs to me now are very much relying on other teams to have a similar calamity. And like I said, I don't see. I think West Ham now they have that certain level of trajectory that I think they will probably get themselves out of danger before the real tail end of the season. Leeds, I think it would be kind of the same way as well. So for me, the way I'm just kind of reading it is just like which is more of a basket case, Nottingham Forest or Spurs. Like my initial instinct, excuse me, my initial instinct would be to say that probably Nottingham Forest will go down, and that's more to do with the fact that they just don't score goals. There's no goals in the team. They were so heavily reliant on Chris Wood last year, and like shock horror, there's no Chris Wood this year. So
Yeah.
now they're looking at the likes of, and of course, Alanga got sold off as well. So realistically, they're hoping that like somehow Morgan Gibbs White is going to rock up 10 goals this season, and that's just not that he's superb playmaker in that respect, but he's not the main man. They need someone in front of him to for it to click. Um,
Yeah,
so,
not far. They're
yeah,
losing too many games. Like you look at
yeah,
that, like they've 15 losses. So like that's the most out of the relegation zone. And in fact, they equal West Ham, who are in the
yes.
relegation zone. But yeah, it's points. They've scored. They've only scored 28 goals. Holy
Yeah,
shit!
that's the saying. Like, well, like they are the second worst scorers in the league. So like and like I said, Wolves is they're on track to actually overtake them because of like bringing in of like in a weird way because they've had to sell off their players like Larson and Cunha and stuff like that. It's brought through like the likes of Mateus Mane and all these other players that have stepped up and to their credit like are looking like really good prospects. But again, I think it's
They're
as I said,
putting
it's
themselves
literally
in the
that's the
window. Like they're like,
defibrillator
get me out of
on
here.
their season. That's all that is like.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I think like so. I suppose like, let's go back into the Spurs situation. Like if we're putting our cards on the table here, are you of the belief if gun to your head, are Spurs getting relegated this season, or do you think they'll be safe? Because I think they'll be safe. I think they'll finish 17th. I think they're literally just going to survive by the skin of their teeth.
yeah. I fuck it. I think they will as well. You know,
Yeah.
I'd love to. Now they- they're a point away. Like they're really fucking skating with it. But yeah, I think they'll survive.
Mm,
I think either. Yeah, I think we kind of discussed it there. I think Forest's lack of goals are gonna cost them.
mm.
You know,
I think again this is back to what I was thinking was that like realistically the reason that Spurs will survive is just because Nottingham Forest are just more chaotic. Like I said,
yeah,
they're in this is the first time that a team has gone through four managers in a season. That's ridiculous. And
insane.
the first manager of that season has taken over another team and will probably overtake them in the relegation battle. Like, I'm sorry, but that is a wonderful narrative. And again, I'm someone who has absolutely no sympathy for Evangelos Marinakis. Like, the guy is mentally fucking unstable. Like,
He's a fucking maniac.
yeah, he's a maniac. Like, literally,
He's like he's run Edu out of there now. So
yeah,
Edu's gone from there. And you made the big song and dance of poaching Edu off us. But like I think he offered him something like three times his salary,
yeah.
and the offer to work a multi-club model.
Mm.
And that's not worked out.
And he's gone.
You
Edu's
know,
gone now, apparently. Yeah,
yeah. Well, he's on barbecue leave now. So
yeah.
apparently, because he's been banned like from
Mm.
the ground. He can't go in. Marinakis is throwing him out, so he can't even go to the club that he's one of the fucking sporting directors of. So yeah,
I said that is some funny shit right there.
that's
Um,
hilarious.
but like but I suppose like okay, so obviously if we're with our hands on hearts, we don't genuinely believe that they're going to get relegated. But let's live in the world of the hypothetical here. So let's just say that we do live in a world that Tottenham Hotspur are relegated. I feel like so again, you are the Arsenal fan here. You can speak for yourself here. But we as Liverpool fans had a very similar situation in 2023, where it was looking very, very likely that Everton were going to go down. And again, a lot of it was kind of a similar story in a sense. There was such a like bereft of leadership at the top of the club to the extent where they thought that like appointing Rafa Benitez was a good idea. Now Rafa himself did his best, but the players were not going to play for former Red. It just wasn't going to
No,
happen. Um, and then obviously Sean Dyche came in and he like Dyched his way through the club and got them to a point that
he
they could
did.
survive.
He did what he does. Yeah,
Yeah, he did what he does, and like I said, that's like he is literally that kind of necessary evil that you need to break out every now and then. Nothing wrong with it. Again, it works for some clubs, it works for it doesn't for others. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, what actually? Because I think it was, did we win the league in 2023? I feel like we that might have been the one we finished runner up. Um, so like there was that possibility, like very very scary possibility that we would win the Premier League and also have Everton relegated. And again, I was kind of thinking about this. Is like I don't actually know if that's a good thing or not because I was kind of joking in the group chat. Well, if they get relegated, that's the 6 points that we won't get in next season.
yeah.
But like all joking aside, like it actually had more to do with the fact that like the Premier League kind of needs those like local derbies. Like one of the selling points of these leagues is that like you have such incredible history between clubs. Like you need a Merseyside derby, you need a North London derby just for marketing alone. But like what would Arsenal do if they didn't have the North? It's a Batman and Joker thing for me. It's like what would you
Well,
do if you didn't have this? Like
Arsenal are unlike Liverpool, and Arsenal have got other London clubs to play against. We've
well,
got
that is very true actually. Yeah, if we had Tranmere Rovers in the Premier League, I would probably wouldn't be saying
beating
this. Yeah.
Chelsea on the regular. That'd be a good salve for not being able to absolutely drill the motherfuckers down the road.
Yeah.
But it's so crazy. Like I just
Mm.
can't. But like I remember, so I sat down and actually really gave it a bit of a thought about them going down, and we'd said this in our WhatsApps. There, it was like if they go down, like they're not coming back up
Mm.
because you've got a huge enterprise there that they need to run. So
Yes.
a really good channel called Business of Sport ran a sort of thing about this, and they were talking about what the financial penalties would be for
Yeah.
Spurs going down, and you're just thinking, right? So half their income is commercial revenue,
Mm.
unusually high. Most of that will go.
Yeah.
Nobody will want to sponsor a championship team.
Yeah.
So I'd
Exactly.
say
Yeah.
a lot of those contracts will be based on you must be in the Premier League, like
Mm.
so shirt sponsors. I don't think they have a stadium sponsor. All the rest of it, like
Mm.
lots of that goes or gets slashed down. Because remember we were talking about the Adidas deal with Manchester United because they were
Yeah.
out of Europe for 2 years. They had to pay Adidas 10 million quid, or you know,
Yeah.
they
Essentially,
lost
pay back
10
the
million quid.
retainer or something along those
Yeah,
lines, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
and like what do you think the payback will be for getting fucking relegated?
Yeah. Well, that's
Like,
again. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to an extension of that, because like we've had big relegations before in the league, and like it's been well documented that like with probably one exception, like those big clubs they don't come back straight away. You know, like Newcastle, like Rafa Benitez's Newcastle was the one exception to the rule, I think. Although truth be told, I think Chris Hughton only needed 2 years to get Newcastle back into the Premier League as well. The first time they got relegated, and that one kind of felt more seismic than the second because it was like such like it just seemed so unnecessary. Like I can't
but
believe they.
Newcastle don't have the whole enterprise that Spurs have. So
Very true.
Spurs are heavily debt laden with that new stadium,
Mm.
right? So that's a huge expense. And if they go down into the EFL, right? So they've
Mm.
got they've no European money. They'll have most of their commercial sponsorship money will cut down. They're fortunate in the fact that Levi negotiated as a routine has relegation contracts, relegation clauses in all his contracts.
Yeah.
So the wage bill is going to go off a cliff. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody who stays is looking at like a 50% reduction. And
Which
most
also
of a lot of
guarantees that
those,
nobody's going to stay then as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
lots of those players aren't going to stay, right? So there's going to be a goddamn fire
Mm.
sale of everything. They're going to have to trim down the whole admin and background thing. They're going to get no real broadcast revenue. No,
Mm.
I'm sorry, I've already said no European
Yeah.
revenue. And but also they go into the EFL, and so but the losses that you're allowed in the EFL are 15 million quid.
Mm.
Like that, and it's not like was it 60 in the Premier League over a rolling 3-year period? No, in the
Well,
EFL,
it's 110 over 3 years, I
yeah,
believe.
it's
That's the
110 over a rolling
yeah.
3-year period. So the EFL is like, no, you're going to have. So when they go down, they're actually going to have to prove to the league
Mm.
that they're going to be able to get and they're not going to be able to bullshit them. Like they're going to have to show the EFL, here's where the line goes down
Mm.
until we get under that dotted line of 15 million quid. And I just don't see how they do that.
Yeah.
I don't see how you run that gigantic enterprise
Mm.
with losses of under 50 million quid. I do not see that.
Yeah, it's like it's a nightmare scenario, isn't it? And I think it's interesting you talk about the kind of the business side of it, because I think that's ultimately where the where it's all kind of gone wrong for them, because
Well, yeah,
like
that's what fucked Leicester. Like
yeah,
what fucked
yeah,
Leicester was when they went down wasn't that they lost a lot of players, they sold off a lot of players. They still had a good enough team to bounce around in the championship.
mm,
What bound them was the losses. They couldn't sustain it was the financials.
yeah,
The money, the numbers just didn't work out. And if the numbers don't work out for Leicester, they're not going to work out for Spurs, currently sitting ninth in the Deloitte list of
yeah.
highest
They're ninth richest club, yeah. So
ninth richest
yeah,
club in the world. the fuck that? Like that's
Yeah.
the math. The math ain't gonna math.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
like I think if they go down, like I think we're in for a catastrophic spiral. Like I don't
Well,
think it's gonna be a good.
that's the part that I'm kind of really scared about if you're a Spurs fan because, like, I was kind of looking into this as well. I was thinking to myself, like all the other kind of big, like quote unquote, big relegations over the seasons, right? And the common thread for me, like you mentioned the financial side of it, and like partly I think I'd agree with you on that one. The other side for me as well is that there was a complete like I'm thinking Newcastle, Villa, Leicester to a certain degree, Sunderland, and fuck it, we'll throw Blackburn in there as well because historically they've
Yeah,
been a big club as well.
yeah,
The common thread about with all those relegations, and actually Leeds in the mid 2000s as well.
yeah. I do enjoy thinking about Leeds getting relegated. Yeah,
Yeah, no, that is always fun. But the common thread with all of them is that there's such a vacuum at the top of the club. No one appears to be in charge. There's no captain of the ship. So like with Aston Villa, their problem was Randy Lerner and just not being there. He was an absentee owner, and it was purely the case where like right, this is getting so bad, he might actually have to fly in to witness this asset of his kind of liquidate. Never did. Likewise well, Leeds was definitely a financial thing. They overcommitted on money and they just didn't have they didn't do anything commercially
oh
to
yeah,
bounce
no,
back
they
up.
did
You know,
drastic overreach.
yeah,
Yeah,
it literally just was like one bad recruitment of like Seth Johnson, and that club spiraled out of control. Like they had to sell up players. They never replaced them with anyone adequately like good enough, and ultimately it was a flash in the pan. They never sustained the success. Sunderland, you could arguably say, was the same story. Was that Ellis Short? I think it was Ellis Short. Put in like was had so much money in the club for so long, and then just decided to just stop putting money in. And by doing that kind of proverbial handbrake, then you basically had these couple of years where Sunderland would have the exact same pattern where they'd have a horrendous start to the season, sack the manager, get somebody in on a short term basis, like survive about enough to get by, and then the cycle would happen again. And then at one point that trick doesn't no longer worked. They made the wrong appointment. I think it was Big Sam that relegated them in the end. So it was then all right. That's definitely it. If Big Sam can't save this team, then that was the narrative. If he can't do it, then that team is screwed. And again, look what happened to them. They went down to League One. Same with Leeds. Like they suffered a double relegation because the fall was so severe. But again, it was the same kind of thing. There's no one in charge of the club.
yeah.
There's nobody actually like deciding what to do on a commercial and an administrative level. And I think that's what Spurs' problem actually is now, is that Daniel Levy was obviously the lightning rod for a lot of criticism for I think was there for like 25 years of the club. So rightfully everything was going to him. Like every little kind of butterfly effect that happened in Spurs being blamed on Daniel Levy in some shape or fashion. But now he's gone. And he left, and the timing of his departure was so strange because if you track to what happened, basically the club has not recovered since Daniel Levy left. And again, as is now evident, he seemed to have been the only person at Tottenham that seems to care about the football side of the operation. Everyone else doesn't seem to particularly care. It seems to be more about the commercial side or the money. You hear nothing from the Lewis family. Like there's nobody seemingly as a spokesperson for that family.
I don't really think I agree. It's more of a case. I agree that you don't care, but I also think it's a case that they're incompetent.
Oh, 100%,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's a case of yeah, they don't care, and also they're really shit at the jobs, which is
Mhm.
not the best combination that you've got.
Well, put it this way. If you were the owners of the top of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, maybe I wouldn't hire the managing director that formerly worked at Arsenal.
Vinay, yeah,
That
Agent
seemed like a bit
Vinay,
of a
yeah,
strange decision, you know? Like,
like holy shit, like I just yeah, the time it's just been the perfect storm for them, like,
mm,
and it's gone really, really fucking downhill so
yeah.
fucking rapidly, and yeah, but as we said, like back office ineptitude has to play a role there. You know, they've recruited terribly for year upon year upon year.
Mm,
Desperately trying to create the illusion of strength whilst only doubling their weaknesses. Um, Suppressing the wage bill above all else, which meant they could not recruit. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just like it's fucking. This is all awful. Like this is really terrible.
Yeah, I
And they
think
just
I think someone described it adequately in that like having Harry Kane and Heung-min Son in that team really did mask a lot of problems that the squad had generally. Like as is often the case with Spurs over the years, like they have an unbelievably raw talent in the team, and that kind of like helps them to a certain degree for like years upon years. If it wasn't Robbie Keane, it was Modric, then it was Bale, and then like fast forward then to Kane and Son and but in the same team. And yeah, those two are brilliant footballers, and rightfully so. The team is built around them. But the problem is they never replaced Son, and they definitely never replaced like Harry Kane. Like nominally they got strikers in, but they were never the same as good as Harry Kane was.
yeah,
Um,
no, and they didn't even get in people who actually kind of seem to enjoy the club. Like
yeah,
The thing about Son and Kane wasn't that well, like they were very good players, but it was
yeah,
also that they absolutely loved the club.
which is
You
incredible.
know,
Like I've
they
never seen
provided,
someone so upset to leave Spurs.
yeah, they usually that's step one, like
Yeah,
get me the
exactly.
fuck
Like just
out of
ask
here,
Sol
like
Campbell. Like,
they provided that link between the people on the pitch and the people in the stands. And when that link is there, that's grand. Your back office can fuck around as much as they want, and
yeah,
you'll generally be okay. But now they don't have anything. Like they've got so many different styles fucking around. The team that Pochettino they took somehow to a
mm,
Champions League final desperately required surgery, didn't get it.
yeah,
In fact,
got worse. They recruited worse. That was the problem as well.
no, they got rid of him. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing. They sacked him. They replaced him with Jose Mourinho. And so it's like he stood there going, "Yes, this team. Like I've taken this team as far as I can. They're
Mm.
absolutely bollocks. We need reinforcement. I've got a list here." And they went, "Okay, then we'll discuss that with the guy we've replaced you with." I was
Yeah.
like, "What? What are you fucking talking about? You fucking
Exactly. Yeah.
dumbass."
Like it's bizarre. Like like we were talking about managers, so we might as well switch on to that as well. So obviously they made the decision to let go of Ange after the Europa League final, and I think this is now also going to be the kind of the real kind of hypothetical of it all is that would this team have if Thomas Frank wasn't there and it was still Ange in charge of the team, I still feel this would have happened. I think it just would have happened in a bigger blaze of glory.
Oh
They
yeah,
would have
would have
scored
gone
more
on quicker.
goals, would have
Yeah,
conceded more goals, and more players would be injured. Like I think this is always going to happen. It didn't really matter who was in charge. It was because like again, whatever is about power vacuum and not having the supports and stuff like that. I think even from day one, I'd say Thomas Frank got a real shock about how alone he is at that club on a footballing level. You
yeah.
know,
I absolutely. I mean, like it's a good thing to mention there that anybody who says, "Oh, we should have kept Ange,"
mm,
um, that's a person you can immediately just disregard everything they think about football. That's a really good red flag
mm,
for I don't have a fucking clue what I'm talking about because
yeah,
Thomas Frank is an infinitely better coach than Ange Postecoglou, and if
yeah.
he couldn't do anything with that team, or if that team really, really went downhill under him, under Ange, it would have been even better or worse, depending on your viewpoint.
Yeah,
Uh,
I suppose like, but there's also kind of thing where like Ange like is a fascinating character in that sense. Like obviously we weren't doing a pod last year, so we never really got a chance to dig into him. But like I've always been of the belief that you do like the world of football needs more Ange Postecoglou's. I've said this as a kind of a hot take in that like you there's a lot of people that are like like the kind of like I'm not going to use like some people like kind of Mikel Arteta as an example, but there's others that are out there that are like really bad imitations of Pep Guardiola, and they they'll always they pick on one thing that like they presume Pep Guardiola does really well and just do that, and it's just a lot of that kind of pale imitations. Whereas Ange is like a deeper cut. He's like, nah, mate, Frederick Puskas, that's my inspiration. It was like, yeah, brilliant. Like but again, it
I
shows
drove
you,
him around for months. Yeah,
yeah, like that's like his backstory is fascinating, and like like it's just a completely different school of football, and in a weird way, like I put Ange in the kind of same kind of bracket as Marcelo Bielsa in these they're like kind of these glorious failures in a sense. Like Bielsa had that wonderful period where he made Chile into like one of the best footballing teams in the world. But
yeah,
again, look at the like it was with a starting 11, and my God, that starting 11 burned the fuck out very quickly. But it was that kind of one of those kind of glorious things where like it like Ange has always said it. It's like football is about as a sport that makes you feel, and I understand that. I know what he's trying to say. The problem is that the football that you're thinking of is not the Premier League. The Premier League is a far more statistical, financial kind of like powerhouse that you actually do need to like forget about your ethics and morals and just win games. Like you are, it is financially crucial you win games. So, in a way, I can see when you had this kind of like cavalier effort with Ange Postecoglou, you go to Thomas Frank who did such a phenomenal work at Brentford, and the players hate him. Like immediately, they just do not respect him. Like they find him like he's completely soft. He's casual. He's just a bit of a kind of like sanguine kind of character. So they don't respect his ego. Like it's such a fascinating dynamic where like the player like again we used to accuse Chelsea of having like the players leading the dressing room in the Terry days. Some of that was true. Some of it was exaggerated. But Spurs, the players definitely rule the roost there. And if they don't play for if they don't fancy the manager, they're not playing for him. And that's part of the problem as well.
Well, then they'll be playing in the championship. I mean, like at some point they have to kind of realize, oh, it's not them, it's us.
Yeah,
Um, but I suppose it's probably not a big shock to learn that a squad that's been constantly told they're steeped in failure play like they're constantly steeped in failure. Like,
it's not even that. It's the fact like it's like when will Tottenham actually take themselves seriously as a club? Because like they've had these things like I was listening to reading a book recently, and they were telling the story about how I think it was back in the '60s they hired a manager who they didn't realize played for Arsenal for 15 years. I can't remember the guy's name. You probably know his name, but they hired him, and about 2 or 3 weeks after he was in the job, the owner of the club approached him and said, "I'm sorry, but were you an Arsenal player at one point in your life?" I was like, "Yes, I was there for 15 years." I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, did you not think of checking? Like, I know you didn't have Google back in 1960, but maybe, just like read a match report or something. Like, and of course, like, they're going like, well, I mean, obviously you're happy here at Tottenham. Absolutely, yes. 2 years later, he becomes the Arsenal manager. Like, what the fuck? That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a distinct lack of like, of treat themselves as a serious outfit. And all this stuff with lowballing, it just seems like they've created such a mess for themselves. And yeah, sometimes they paper over the cracks. Sometimes they make wrong managerial decisions, and they always seem to do this. They always seem to make the wrong decision. But the Igor Tudor decision now seems to be the worst of them all because not only have they tried to find someone who like they always seem to be going for the opposite of the player of the manager they had before. If they had like from Ange to Thomas Frank, and the accusation was that Frank was not enough of a taskmaster, that he wasn't like beating these lads into the ground. So they brought Tudor, who is an absolute bastard by all accounts, but he's like a brute camp instructor that gets you to the point where you can get on the front lines. I'm not gonna lie, from what I've seen so far, I don't think the players fancy him, to be honest.
well, so Thomas Frank is too soft, and now Igor Tudor is too hard, and I'm
Yeah, it's mental, like, and but like it's so self-destructive in a sense. Now, obviously, this is coming after the first leg against Atletico Madrid, and genuinely, the only time I've seen a team play that bad was the 6-0 drumming of Villa against Liverpool, where even fucking Colo Torre scored against them. Now, if Colo Torre scoring goals against you in the year of our Lord 2014, your team are the problem, you know. But even then, like that was purely that was how much of a surrender that felt like. Like obviously, like the slipping around is kind of one aspect of it, but there is just a distinctive like there's this clear fault lines in the team. There, you can clearly tell that there's certain players that don't like other players, and it's all centered around Sergio Romero for me.
yeah.
Not Sergio Romero, Christian Romero, beg your pardon, not the former United goalkeeper. He's sound.
Hmm.
But Christian Romero, I like. I know we give Bruno Fernandes a hard time on this podcast at the best of times, and sometimes it's earned. But a lot of the criticisms that I would have for Bruno is actually twice as bad for Romero, because like Romero is like very like ultimate way too aggressive, way too unpleasant, and is just a really bad leader of men. Like he just has a head loss nearly every match, and like to the extent where like he basically loved his own player in the Atletico match. Now he's missing the Liverpool game, and I'm thinking to
Yeah.
myself, is that a bad thing for Spurs or a good thing? Like, like maybe they might have to like make Conor Gallagher captain and actually give them like a level head. You know, I don't fucking know. Like,
Yeah, it's crazy. like these aren't bad players, but they're just terribly put together. They don't
Mm,
want to play, and just man, that club. Here's the thing: Tudor was a suggestion of a guy that they've previously sacked,
yeah,
right? Who was, I think, he was acting in a kind of sort of advisory capacity because he was banned at the time they were hiring him. That was
that was Paradici
Palazzi.
you're thinking of, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
and
Yeah, and then and when his ban was
he's
lifted,
now
then he
gone.
quickly went to Fiorentina. Yeah.
Yeah, he's now gone. He suggested Tudor on the way out the door, and they've
Mm,
gone for it. And I was like, they clearly did no research into what he's doing.
yeah,
The decision to sack Frank was a stupid one. Well, sorry, the timing of the decision to sack
yeah,
Frank was a stupid one. Should have sacked him long before that. And I'm just, they're doing everything wrong, and this
yeah.
is where it's leading. And yeah, no, this is fucking. I don't know. Here's an interesting thought exercise. Do you think maybe in the long run, relegation is what Spurs need?
It depends, right? Because I think if I was a Spurs fan, what I'd really, really want, because I feel like this is the sort of scenario that would have happened if like Hicks and Gillett's kept stayed at Liverpool. Like because it's a very similar kind of situation. Like again, they weren't necessarily always there. They were lowballing the finances of the club, so like we weren't able to kind of shop in the same kind of places like Arsenal United would be, and then ultimately we got blown out of the way by Chelsea. But then again, I think everyone was being blown out of the way of Chelsea. That was just the Abramovich money just fucking changing the game. So with Hicks and Gillette, I think the issue was that they were always going to try and go for the path of least resistance. And eventually that was going to catch up to Liverpool because if we didn't have that ownership now, I think we would be a championship club. Solely because we were never going to be able to compete with this like insane midfield that the Premier League now has if we were gonna keep to the same kind of like austerity that those two wanted us to keep with, because their approach was, okay, we're taking money out of the club, like you are our assets, we're gonna leverage debt like the Glazers do, but also take money out. Oh, by the way, we're also gonna demolish Anfield and make a fancy new stadium in the middle of fucking nowhere. Sorry about you. So they had like ridiculous notions. Spurs, I think, in an ideal world, they would love for the Lewis family to sell the club and to give it to a rich benefactor. Like again, the Qatari kind of contingency want a club in the Premier League. They've been kind of fairly like upfront about that, and they probably see Spurs as prime real estate because fancy new stadium in London, you've got everything you need there. Like Spurs are a very sellable club right now. The problem is, I don't think even the Lewis family have even thought of the idea of selling the club. I don't think conceptually they know that's an option. Like I think in their head they're thinking like, well, now with Spurs as a franchise, we'll just move this club to Huddersfield. Is like that's what I think. I think they're in such an altered state of reality that actually like getting rid of this kind of bad of this burden off their shoulders has not come across to them at all. Which is ultimately probably what the club actually needs. They need new ownership and they need to like accelerate it in the same way that Manchester City did. I'm thinking to myself, if you got the same level of private capital, if it became a state club, let's say, that Spurs team would immediately accelerate into something serious. But the issue is that I don't think there's an appetite to sell up now, and even if they get relegated, they're definitely not going to sell up then because it's a such a depressed asset. They'd have to go down the league. They'd have to do a Sunderland and go to League One for them to sell up, which could happen.
Yeah.
Like that again, there's nothing to say that like a double relegation is on the cards because as you said, like I don't think any of those players in that Spurs team would stay for a year in the championship. Um, Actually, do you know what? Fuck it. While I'm here, I'm on transfer market. Let's do a fucking a straw poll, right? Here is the Tottenham Hotspur squad as per the 13th of March 2026, right? So, little bit of a thought exercise here because Spurs are well used to selling to their rivals, right? So, I'm going to give you the squad, snap judgment. If they will stay, we say stay. If they go, we have to say where, right? Because
Right.
this is a fun little exercise, and this will just demonstrate like where exactly they are in the food chain. Start with the goalkeepers. Vicario,
He will go.
I'd say he'd go, and I think Chelsea would take him.
Chelsea. I don't think any fucking. I don't think he's long for the Premier League. He's basically just been a whipping boy in the Premier League. I say he goes somewhere like fucking. I say he goes to the mainland Europe, somewhere
Yeah, he'd probably
France.
go back to Italy, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah.
Kinski.
Oh, he goes. I think he stays purely because they won't be able to sell him.
I agree. I think it's a carrier situation for me as well. Like he'd need a good season to be sellable again. The third keeper is Brandon Austin. Let's just say for assumption he would probably stay.
Yeah.
Mickey Van de Ven
Oh, he'll go.
gone to Liverpool, in my opinion.
Oh,
Now, in fairness, he will go to Liverpool. I think like he is the Van Dijk replacement. He is the one and only person that's replacing Van Dijk in that squad.
really?
Uh,
It's because you just need a defender with Van in his name.
Realistically speaking, we were looking for him anyway. It was just that Spurs got there before us, and we were kind of there looking like, actually, it's not bad because he'll get Premier League experience, and we'll probably be able to do a deal with Spurs at a bracket price. So yeah, you can continue. Um, Christian Romero
Oh, he's gone.
gone. Same as well. I like it's. I don't
I'd say
think
he goes
he.
back to Spain.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like to be fair, if there's anyone destined for the Saudi league, it's Christian Romero. Um, Radu Dragishin.
I think Dragusin, he maybe sticks around for a year.
Maybe. I think again it's the same thing. I have like Dragusin is a concern when I watch him play. Like I think he's a
Oh,
horrendous
terrible.
defender. He's a terrible defender. And again, I think anyone scouting him will go, yeah, we're not taking a fucking risk on that.
Yeah,
Like
no.
maybe a League One team like looking for centre backs will take him. But again, like this is the same like they like Wout Faes got a job in Monaco. So there's always hope. I thought he was a pretty bad at Leicester as well. And Kevin
Oh, no,
Danzo.
there's stupid people everywhere, you know?
Yeah, this is true. Actually, this is the one thing we have the category. Kevin Danzo.
He stays.
Yeah. I think I'll agree with that. Kevin Danzo. Ben Davies.
Goes. A lower league English team will pick him up.
So fun fact. Ben Davies is a master's in economics, right? And
Oh,
apparently he had done a keynote speech at this kind of football economics like thing that was on in London during the week.
oh nice.
So I'd say he stays at the club and moves up. I'd say he's probably gonna be the director of football, which sounds fucking.
He just
It
moves
sounds
into the
mental.
back. He just moves into.
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, Destiny Udogi.
He stays. Nobody's going to buy him. He's been terrible for them. Maybe some League One team will pick him up, but I don't see anybody going in from.
Yeah, maybe. Jet
If they
Spence.
do get rid of him, that's like a let's just get him at the door for peanuts so he can get his wage off the bill.
Yeah, that could be it too. Actually, yeah. I mean, like he probably have decent market value because of his age, but again, he needs to be playing to actually justify the cost, I suppose. Yeah. So similarly, Jet Spence.
Uh, Spence goes.
Yeah, I think he moves to somewhere in the Premier League, like
Yeah,
maybe.
to a Premier League. I think in and around the mid-tier Premier League team. Yeah.
Yeah, United are in for a left back. They might go for him instead. Actually,
Mm.
Liverpool are in for a left back. They might take him. I doubt it though. Um, then we have Sousa, the young Brazilian left back who has only just
He'll stick
arrived
around.
and probably
Yeah.
would wish to go back to Santos if he had the
Yeah.
choice. Um, Pedro Porro,
Ooh.
he's definitely going. I would see him going to Atletico or Villarreal or somewhere like that. Again, not
Mm.
not necessarily a permanent sale, but like one of those loans to kind of like kick it down the road and then move him along.
Yeah.
That'd be me. Bentancur.
But Rodrigo Bentancur. No, he's actually one of the ones whose stock is somewhat high.
Mm,
He goes. I think he goes.
yeah, fair. Yeah, he kind of probably to Italy, possibly. Gel Pellini is on loan from Bayern, so he has a parachute. He is an
Yeah.
eject button. He's happy out. Yves Basuma.
No, Basuma gets picked up, I'd say.
Mm,
I'd say a club or two will come in for him.
yeah, considering his age as well, I'd say one of the promoted teams I might take a punt on him, like Borough or something like that, just to
Yeah.
have some experience. Lucas Bergval.
I think Bergval sticks around, but
Yeah.
again, that's another. They just won't be able to get a good price for him. Because he,
Yeah, well, like it's if because of his age as well. I think he probably would stay for a year and that kind of like let the championship toughen him up a little bit. But again, it's like one of
yeah,
those things where like if you don't jump now, like seemingly Villa want him. Let's say so if Villa do go for Bergvall, I think he would go. Um, similarly, Archie Gray.
yeah, I think Gray sticks around for a year.
Yeah, I think Archie Gray genuinely would be the kind of person that the club would be built around. Like he is a
Mm.
phenomenal player, and the frustrating thing about him is that he's always played out of position. Like he's meant to be a number eight, and he's playing centre back. Like take him out of there, take him out of the fucking the firing line, and just put him where he should be. And Conor Gallagher,
No, it depends. I think they'll want to get rid of Conor Gallagher, but I don't
mm,
think they'll be able to. He's on something like in the region of 200 grand a week there.
yeah,
If anything, his playing has massively deteriorated since he's gone
mm.
to Spurs. So he'll have it. Is he not on loan?
No,
I thought
no,
we
it's
bought
a
him.
permanent
Okay.
deal. Yeah, 30
So
million.
they've a big fee to amortize to kind of rake back, a big wage to get rid of,
Mm,
and they've not a lot of selling. So I think they'll get rid of him if they can, but I
yeah,
don't think they will. I don't see anybody paying them what they would want for him.
yeah.
So I think he stays purely by virtue of the fact that they won't be able to get rid of him.
I agree. I think Conor Gallagher would stay in that situation. I think he in that scenario. Well, I was going to say use a slur and call him the Jack Rodwell of the squad, but there is actually another bigger Jack Rodwell in the squad that we're going to get to momentarily.
Uh-huh.
Papi Sarr.
No, I think he'll go. I think they'll get a few good, decent offers in for Saar. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think he screams like a mid-table kind of Premier League team for me. Like possibly like your Brightons or your Bournemouths would probably go in for him.
He'll go to a team that will coach out of him his ability to play like he has SARS. So,
Then
like,
that'll be Brentford then in that case.
yeah.
Fucking happy head Keith Andrews will save him there.
Mhm.
Javi Simmons.
Again, another of the Gallagher thing. They'll get rid of him if they can, uh, but I don't believe they'll be able to get rid of him at the price that will make it worth their while.
Yeah, I think
Um,
he's one that thinks he's going to be like furloughed out for like 2 or 3 years until Spurs are back in the league or something like that,
yeah,
just for the wages alone.
exactly. Because
Um,
I think if
yeah,
they get rid of him at any cost, they're gonna have to eat an awful lot of shit. I
yeah,
just don't think the finances are up for it.
agreed. Dejan Kulusevski.
Um, Here's the thing. I think Kulusevski sticks around.
Like he is injured a lot, so I suppose like a year of football in the championship wouldn't do him the world of bad either. Like he needs to just stay fit, like that's his
Yeah.
major problem right now. So yeah, maybe. James Madison,
Matters.
he's the
Um,
Rodwell of the squad for me. Like you're not going to
yeah.
be able to clear off James Madison because of his injury
No,
record.
that's it. Again, he's another one in the Xavi Simmons, Conor
Mm,
Gallagher bracket in that they will want to get rid of him, but won't
yeah,
be able to.
exactly.
Maybe
Yeah,
a lower league Premier League team comes in and maybe decides to offer them like 20-25 million for him, but I don't see them taking that.
no, probably
Um,
not. Probably not. Wilson Odegaard wrecked ACL, so he's exempt from this conversation.
yeah.
Mohamed Kudus.
Ooh, Kudus. I think they'll get rid of Kudus. Kudus will have a few offers.
Yeah, like see, I can as that the sounds, I can kind of see Liverpool going in for him.
Hmm.
I can see him slotting in that right wing
I
position.
see him sticking around the Premier League. I
Yeah,
agree with you on that.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, definitely. Colin Moani is already on loan of PSG, so he has an eject button.
Yep.
Matthias Tell.
Sticks around.
Yeah, I think surely because he's 20, he could probably take it a year in the second division and get some form up. But again, it's the same thing where like if a big benefactor comes in to break him free of this, they'll take it.
Oh
Um,
yeah, absolutely. I'm like,
yeah.
be the case that if they go down, like
Hmm.
anybody who comes in with, to use a technical term, flipping great wads of cash
Yes.
and
Second term.
offers it for any of their players, they'll take it. They'll take it
Yeah.
no matter who it is. So like all of this is subject to change via vast amounts of cash.
Indeed. Indeed.
But it's just kind of what I think will happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, but like, it's not beyond the realm of reality that somebody comes in and coughs up a huge amount. Somebody sees something that they really like in Tell and
Mm.
coughs up a huge amount of cash for them.
Yeah.
In fact, that's probably what Spurs are going to be hoping for, an awful lot of that first team.
Yep. Very much so. Yeah. Case in point, Dominic Solanke.
Yeah. Again, another one of we'll get rid of this guy if we can. He's kind of damaged goods. He's bounced around the Premier League quite a bit, so I'd say he goes to Europe, like mainland Europe. And but again,
for a bit of fancy booking, Coventry. I think he'd be Frankie Lampard's kind of star signing. Like I don't think Lampard would be able to resist a kind of prime years like English striker who can kind of center the whole team around. You might accidentally call him Tammy Abraham by accident. That sort of stuff. It worked out really well for him. It worked out the first time. And last but not least, Richarlison.
he'll be gone.
Saudi League. Like he will drop that club like a fucking bad habit, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he'll drop it. Maybe I think a few Premier League teams might go in for him.
Yeah, he is a bit of a prick. That's the problem.
Well,
I think
he's not a bit of a prick. He's a complete prick.
He's a complete prick.
200% prick.
And like I said, some clubs really need a prick in their squad. Like he is a necessary evil.
They do need a complete ball bag, you know, and an ugly looking fucking ball bag as well. So like, I'd say he goes. He definitely goes, and I think he sticks around in the Premier League.
Yeah, and like I said,
again, if Saudi come in with all of the money, he'll go.
And that's the thing about the Spurs thing as well, is that like Spurs do have a good academy setup, but not great. Like they are able to get like a couple of players. Like Mikey Moore is obviously their biggest talent, and he will. Should they take a relegation, Mikey Moore will be the lad that gets them back up. In my opinion, I think he is that good. Hilarious enough, Mason Melia was probably licking his lips, going, "Ooh, Championship football, tell me more." That sort of stuff. I think the other kind of aspect of it is that like if you had like other players that come through the system, but again they've sold all those players, or they're not first team quality. So maybe like again dropping down to the Championship, taking on a kind of a generation of Spurs graduates, or very well just like poaching from all these different places. That's assuming the Spurs actually have a plan. Like this is the one thing, is like, do they actually have like a proverbial zombie plan? What happens if you get relegated? And a lot of these big clubs have never had to do that calculation. Like the likes of Leeds and West Ham will have gone, okay, panic stations, we're going to have to let go of like 10 players here or whatever, but that's fine, we can recruit from these sort of markets. Spurs don't have that, because where do Spurs do their scouting? Where would they do their shopping if they're in the second tier of English football with no Europe? Like they're going to get no Europe anyway. So
it's funny, it was written down that like Ryan Norris, who is their chief revenue officer, was due to do a talk at the South by Southwest Festival on Friday this week. Today actually. And due to the Spurs fans' constant explosion of anger on his LinkedIn, he cancelled the talk. Because he was due to speak on how Tottenham is evolving beyond football to become a global cultural brand. And wow, if there was a time to give a talk like that, now is not that fucking time, man.
No. Very much so. I mean, like, there's been some poorly timed keynotes in the last couple of months, but my goodness, that is the poorest of them all. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, that's our kind of breakdown of what could happen. I mean, like I said, we're gonna have a couple of pods before the end of the Premier League season, so there is an entirely possibility that a couple of episodes time we could be talking about Championship level Spurs and what happens after that.
I just don't think I'm ready for that, like medically.
Yeah.
Speaking like
again, there is a permutation where Arsenal could win all 4 competitions they're involved in, and Spurs get relegated, and we will never hear from Neil and Burkbot again. They will have treated it like they've won the lottery.
There's a good permutation that they might get relegated by Chelsea.
Yeah.
Like Chelsea is their third last game, I think.
Chelsea have got like the proverbial all the big 6 in like a month. Like they've got United, they got Liverpool, and I think they got Spurs in the space of a few weeks. Like, I'm even just looking here. I think they're match day 37. Yeah. So away to Stamford Bridge is their penultimate game, and then the home game against Everton's the last one. So yeah, Libra Senior could relegate Spurs for you.
Like.
Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Yeah. In that case, let's move on then to a little bit of a halftime breather. It's time for some winning 11s. So, if you're not familiar with this, this is our little kind of breather in between, a little bit of a mini game for my guests, or guest in this case, where I take a winning 11 from match reports gone by, and I try and get my people here to guess on the actual winning 11, as the name implies. So, given the theme of the conversation so far, we're talking about relegations and kind of the biggest ones that we've had over the years. I've gone into the archives a little bit. I've gone back to the hedonistic days of 2016, Neil. What were you doing in 2016 on the
I
final?
can't
Where
fucking
were you
remember
on the
that crap.
final day of the 15-16 season?
Fuck me knows.
You know exactly where you were.
No.
This is the season where Leicester won the Premier League.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
This is the season that Newcastle got relegated.
I was probably screaming into a pillow.
You weren't. I know exactly where you were. You would
Yeah,
have
no.
been in the Emirates watching you tonk Aston Villa, if I'm not
Oh, yeah, that
mistaken.
was a Villa game. Shit, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I did.
with our friend Burke Bott, and
Yep.
it would have been a 4-0 draw. I think Giroud scored all 4 goals, but
No, it was a 5-0.
was a 5-0. Sorry, okay.
5. We won 5. It was a Giroud hat trick.
Mm,
Mikel Arteta scored his last goal ever
yes.
in Arsenal colours during that game, which it went down as a goalkeeper OG
Yeah.
bastards. And I
So
can't remember who scored the last goal. It might have been was Cazorla playing that day?
could have
Fuck.
been Cazorla. Yeah, could have been Cazorla. But that's not the game that I'm quizzing you on. What happened to Spurs that weekend? Do you remember?
They lost out on Europe after getting absolutely rinsed by the erstwhile relegated Newcastle.
5-1 no less. And
Yeah.
that is the winning 11 I'm quizzing on you tonight.
Oh my god.
Can you pick out the winning 11 that beat Spurs 5-1? Now, it's going to be a slightly different format because normally this is like an elimination aspect, but because it's only the only one of you here, we're going to do it this way. So I'll get you to basically pick out all the positions that are available, and then you will find out then at the end if you got them right. So we'll do it that
Right.
way. So we'll start off at the goal. So I'll give you the full squad name in case you can't see it on the screen here. We got the goalkeepers: Tim Krul, Carl Darlow, and Freddie Woodman. For
Uh-huh.
defenders, we've got. I'll start with the fullbacks anyway. So the fullbacks we've got Daryl Janmat, Paul Dummett, Jamie Sterry, and Massimo Hidara. Centre backs we got Jamal Lascelles, Chancel Mbemba, Fabrizio Colacini, and Stephen Taylor. Midfielders John Joe Shelby, Czech Tiote, Jack Kovac, Musa Sissoko, Jorginho Wijnaldum as their midfielders. Your wingers were Florent Thauvin, Sim de Jong, Andros Townsend, and Rolando Aarons. And then your three strikers to choose from were Alexander Mitrovic, Papa Cisse, and Jose Perez. So, um, obviously, this was you can kind of pick out the formation for yourself there, but use your intuition and tell me who you think started this game.
Well, I'll go with the easy one. So I'd say they started cruel there.
Okay, so Krul starting off, yeah.
Right. Um, Fuck it. Colacini, go with him.
Okay, Colcini next.
I fucking think they would have had to have played Wijnaldum. That was when you spot him after that, didn't you? Was that why
This,
you?
yeah, well, this would have been his last game for Newcastle, yeah, and he would have
Yeah.
captained the team as well. Weirdly enough,
And
at
he
some point,
scored. He scored 2 goals in that game.
he did indeed. Well remembered. So, where do you want to put him on the field?
Well, it's Wijnaldum, so it could be literally anywhere.
Indeed, that's why I'm asking.
Shit, I'd stick him in midfield. I think.
All right,
Fuck.
just here on the right of midfield.
Yeah,
Okay. Yep.
yeah. Mitrovic as well. He did he score or did he fucking did he score or did he get sent off in that game?
Um.
Shit.
Correct. Yes, he
Oh, he
did
was both.
both. Yeah.
Oh fucking hell! Right.
I'll let you. I'll give you a freebie on that one. Yes, that did actually happen.
um. Fuck it, hell. Taking a look at this fucking squad.
What are you thinking for
Uh,
fullbacks? We've seen that we haven't got anyone slotted in yet.
um, go with Yanma because they
Yeah,
always played him. Um, I'm trying to think. Fucking who else is there? Fuck. Sissoko as well. He was their club captain at the time, so try
he
him on.
was, I think, yeah. So Musa Sissoko indeed.
Colback was on that as well. That was when he was breaking out. He
Okay.
he was becoming a big name.
So
Oh,
that would presumably be your midfield three then in that case.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
um, fuck. Maybe I've overcommitted there. Shelby, they'd have had to have played Shelby.
Okay, well you can always
Um,
put Shelby, like you can always change information around if you want to. So
no, hang on. I've got Jan Matt. They always play Taylor as well. Is Taylor on there?
Stephen Taylor's there, yeah. You can
Yeah,
put him
yeah.
on.
They always played him. Um, Dummett.
And Dummett, okay.
Ah,
Okay, yeah, Paul Dummett. So that's your back line finished. So now it's just figuring out your forwards. So you have Mitrovic already up the top, and then
they
it's a
always
matter of
played Mitrovic alongside Townsend. So
Townsend, okay, yeah.
Mitrovic and Townsend. Fuck.
Just one more then.
It's probably wrong. I'll go with Shelby. I'd say they put Shelby. I know that's wrong.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not even sure Shelby. He was still in the Newcastle. Yeah, he definitely was in the Newcastle team. He wouldn't be on the list if he wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, go with that.
Okay, so that's your 11. It may not be the exact position, but that's your 11 you're going for anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I could
Okay.
put on more if you want to give me some Todd Bowley rules.
Well, I actually was going to ask you who do you think got subbed in the game as well for added
Fuck.
points. So you can pick three
Uh,
random players to get subbed in.
I tried Perez, Aaron's, and fuck. We got the other Cisse there as well.
Papa Cisse?
Yeah.
Okay. All right then. So those are your three subs, and this is your starting 11. So I think the best way to do this is see if you get them all right. So anything that lights up here are the correct answer. So we have starting off. This is proper Wheel of Fortune shit. This is. I love it. I need to add some. I need to add some dings in post production.
Oh fuck, Krul's not a correct answer.
No, it's not. Would you believe?
Fuck, they had Darlow on.
They had Carl Darlow. Yeah, they
Bollocks.
did indeed. And
Shit, was Krul not even then? He probably wouldn't even have been in the squad then.
Crewell was injured, if I'm not
Fuck.
mistaken. I think he at some point I think he pulled up. So and I think then Rafa preferred Darlow then to him after that.
Wouldn't.
Then so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay then. So everything that's in yellow, Neil, is what you got right. So Tim Krul indeed was not in goal for this game. He was referred to by Carl Darlow, by Rafa Benitez. You were not too bad. You actually did pretty well with that lineup, in fairness. So the only other mistake you made in the back line was Fabrizio Colaccini. Colaccini was undergoing cancer treatment at the time. Um, so it was actually famously a story that like Newcastle wouldn't help with the payments of his treatment. So that's just typical Mike Ashley shit. So it was actually Chancellor Mbemba who partnered Stephen Taylor in this match. But you got the fullbacks right. Jan Matt was definitely on the right, Dummett on the left, and Stephen Taylor then partnered Mbemba in the defence. Midfield, you were right-ish, if I can say. So the outliers actually was John Joe Shelvey. So that's what the one that throws you off because John Joe Shelvey was a sub in this game. So it was actually Jorginho Wijnaldum that played on the left wing for Newcastle on this one. And this will all become clear when I rejig the formation because Jack Colback played in the defensive midfielder. Musa Sissoko played number 10. And it was actually the late Czech Tiote who was in the midfield as well. I think your mic's muted there, Neil, but I think I can hear your disgust.
It's probably best that we didn't hear the word I uttered at that.
Exactly. But you did get Mitrovic correct. He did score and get sent off in that game. Gerald Janmaat also scored one of the goals. Wijnaldum scored two. Townsend also played. The three substitutes then, we got John Joe Shelby by accident. Ronaldo Aarons was one of the subs and scored in
Nice.
that game as
Oh,
well.
he was the other goal scorer.
Yeah. Iosa Perez did not play, but it was Jamie Sterry who came on as a sub. Was the third. So you wouldn't have got that anyway. Fun fact, Rolando Aarons plays for NK Celje at the moment, and I know that because Shamrock Rovers played them in the Europa League very recently, and there he was, my team sheet. Oh, there you are. How the mighty have fallen. But you know what? That's not a bad effort for winning 11. You did pretty well there. Like,
Yeah, no, that's good.
yeah, missing a trio from the
Happy
win
with that.
from the starting 11. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Good effort all around. Okay, then. So, for the second half of our show, then, we are going to get stuck into the Champions League. Because we're now at the point, and I hate saying this because it makes it sound very flippant, we're now at the point where the Champions League actually matters.
Yeah, we're into the second legs of the first knockout round.
Yes. So we have a relatively clear picture of like how it's going to shape out. So this was kind of more it's kind of a more overview of the conversation about the Champions League rather than this year's edition. And we are obviously going to get to that eventually as well. But this is the second year now that we've had this new format, this heralded kind of Swiss model, extra rounds, extra football, more is more nonsense from UEFA. Like it is obviously goes without saying this is kind of a backdoor to the European Super League because that's stopped all the clubs from doing a breakaway and giving them more revenue and all the kind of juicy stuff that they were looking for to begin with. So I suppose the best thing to kind of start off this conversation is we've had 2 years of this format. PSG won the Champions League last season. They're looking pretty good to go far in the competition again. I suppose my kind of cut and thrust of this question is how are you finding the new format and is it better or worse than what we've had before? Because obviously more is more according to UEFA. Whereas I feel like we're both of the opinion that less is more. But I'd like to hear what your thoughts on it.
Funnily enough, I'm actually enjoying the new format in the Champions League.
Mm.
It's a lot more games of jeopardy. I wasn't sure about how the league format was going to work out, but to be honest with you, I've been enjoying it. There's lots of rewards for finishing high up in the league table, and there's lots of teams that are like finishing quite low. Like when you look at the cutoff, look at the teams below the cutoff line in the league portion of Champions League. You've got Real, PSG finished 11th. So they did the knockouts. Juventus, Atletico, Atalanta. It's like fucking so many fucking teams, brilliant teams. Inter as well was there. So like, Man City only finished above that dotted line by 1 point. Same with Sporting and Chelsea and Barcelona as well. So like, it's introduced real jeopardy they've introduced jeopardy earlier into the competition, and I like it. So yeah, no, I'm actually enjoying it.
I'm surprised at that now. Like I thought, like I feel like we would be having a conversation where, like like that kind of the roast of the glasses would have kicked in. But I like that we're having this discussion about it because I've been kind of like slightly positive on the whole system as well. But I do think that like there's a few things that probably could streamline for the sake of like the player welfare more than anything else. Because as I said, like this is now like 6 games in the group stage now, moving up to 8 and 10 if you basically get the league stage wrong for all intents and purposes. You know.
No, but the point about it is it's not the Champions League that's overloading people because the players want to play in the Champions League.
Yeah,
they don't want to play in this Club World Cup bollocks.
This is very true. Yes,
they don't really want to play in the League Cup. They don't really want to play in a lot of the other fucking ancillary competitions that are being made to go into. So it's, there is, no, don't get me wrong, like I think the overriding theme of football for the last couple of years has been fatigue.
Yeah.
But to paint it just on, they've revamped the Champions League to the Swiss format, I think is missing the point. They just keep adding more and more fucking competitions, extraneous bullshit, extraneous games onto that. At least with the Champions League, The players want to play in the Champions League. A Champions League game is a Champions League game.
Mm.
You're going out, you've got that starred ball on the side of your fucking sleeve. You
Yeah.
want that. They don't want the rest of this bollocks.
Mm.
If they'd not done all the other Club World Cup, all the other shit that they've added in on here, and just suggested the moving to the Swiss format, I don't think any player would have complained, because it would have meant, oh, more Champions League games. I'm actually in for that.
Mm.
I want to play in the Champions League. That's what every player in club football wants to play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I get what you're saying there, and again, I actually agree with some certain elements of that as well. Like, I think it's more pertinent for, I suppose every country is different to a certain degree. I actually think that the Champions League kind of new format has actually benefited the majority of Europe more than England. So it's always like very amusing in that respect, that whenever like the English teams do bad in Europe, there's always this kind of like pontificating from the kind of English cycle about like, oh, what's wrong with European football? Why aren't we doing well? And all this other question. Where like it's kind of spoiled milk in a sense, because like 5 of the 6 teams in the Champions League got through automatically. So now you're only giving out now because like the other teams have had to like scratch and claw for it. It is a kind of a quirk of the system in the sense that like the teams that are in the knockout playoffs rounds and forward are actually performing better than the teams that jump in at the round of 16. It's so counterintuitive in a sense, where like you think like having to be able to buy into the next round will probably make you fresher, but it actually is working the opposite way for the most part. I've even looked at the scoreline, the results here. So like, but like obviously PSG hounding Chelsea. Okay, granted, PSG are a better squad than Chelsea at the moment, so that's totally fair. Like Galatasaray beating Liverpool is probably no surprise.
I watched that Chelsea game. Chelsea had opportunities in that
Oh, you
game.
did? Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
PSG were shaky and vulnerable.
Yeah,
They could
well, the
have
5-2
won that.
is a flattering scoreline for PSG. Like, don't get me wrong, like it was
Yeah,
a collapse from Chelsea. Absolutely, yeah.
absolutely. Like that is flattering for them. PSG were vulnerable, and if Chelsea didn't act like a fucking bozos,
Yeah,
they would have gotten a lot more out of that.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. Like I said, Galatasaray beating Liverpool probably is no surprise considering how fucking frail Liverpool
Man, that
team
is
now.
just crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
but it's the second time this season. The second time this season we played Galatasaray and it's the exact same scoreline.
it's weird. It's a fucking your form in Europe is total gash this season. Like,
do you
you've
know?
lost to Bodo Glimt, haven't you, as well?
No, City beat the lost to Bodo
Oh,
Glimt.
City, it was City who
We
lost to
got
Bodo
trounced by
Glimt.
PSV at home 4-0.
Yes,
That
sorry.
was the point where like Slot probably could have walked, to be honest. Like,
Yeah,
it could not.
in all fairness,
That was rock bottom of the season.
when
Like,
when he survived that, that's when it cemented in my head. I was like, yeah, they're giving him the season.
well, I think like
Because I think there's no way, like, unless obviously, I didn't see any results getting worse than that.
yeah, well, I think that was the point where he realized, okay, I actually can't go on with the current setup, though. Now I actually have to make core changes to the team, and like a lot of people would kind of look at that match and go like, right, you can tell that Salah's gone, Robertson's gone, Van Dijk is gone, all this other stuff. Could have probably told you last year, like that at that point last year, but again, form was so fantastic that you
was
had to,
told last year. They
yeah,
were constantly being told
yeah,
Salah's fucking legs are done. Like,
exactly, yeah. But
can't keep relying on
that's the
Van
thing. Like,
Dijk.
that's the challenge of Slot, is to try and make it all work, and unfortunately he hasn't. I think what's as I think I said in our WhatsApp, is like the biggest crime that Slot has done this season for Liverpool is to make Liverpool look weak and frail and physically incapable of playing matches. He's made some critical mistakes in the squad, in the sense that he's given himself zero options for squad depth. So he won't play Endo. He
Won't play in Guma. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, Ngomo is a strange one as well, because like he is a raw talent, and like he is an actual traditional winger. Like, he
Yeah,
is
you've
doing
no
dribbles,
winger.
he's doing crosses, and he's like, yeah, he's gonna get stuff wrong. He's 17, but there's no one else in that team that's doing that job. I think I said in the previous podcast that Cody Gakpo has been found out this season.
Yeah.
And it like massively found out. Like the downgrade from him compared to Luis Diaz on the left side is staggering. Like, he didn't really notice it a little like last season, because Gakpo would always come on in kind of winning game phases. So like that little touch of control and kind of assurance was quite welcome. But now when you're chasing games and he's doing the same fucking move 5 times in a match, like, he's not Arjen Robben. You know what I mean? Like, it's not.
Yeah.
This isn't the same kind of beast here. So yeah, there's a lot of problems there, and I think Europe is just gonna expose them for what it is. Like even if they get through Galatasaray, they're gonna lose the PSG in my opinion anyway. And so, but again, I was on the conversation about like how the knockout teams are playing better. So like Real Madrid beats like hounding Man City, Leverkusen holding their own against Arsenal, for instance, or Bodo Glimt just demolishing Sporting. It's a fascinating quirk of the system, but I think like it's what I'd say is interesting about the whole structure is that there's a lot of repeat fixtures. Is the one thing I don't like about the new system is that the league phase and the group phase, the league phase and the knockout phase are treated as kind of two different kind of beasts.
Yeah,
And I know like it is a quirk, like it can happen in these kind of competitions. It happens in the World Cup all the time. But the difference is that like they move to different sides of the draw to do that. Whereas in the league, they can't really govern that in the knockout rounds. So like for instance, we've had Real Madrid, Man City already. We've had Galatasaray, Liverpool already. And I'm nearly sure we've had Atlanta Munich, or we had Newcastle Barcelona already in this
yeah,
competition, and Newcastle beat them. So like
yeah,
it's that kind of thing where like there's a lot of repetition of fixtures. So if there's one change I would make to there's actually I was gonna say this segment was like we'll make three suggestions to improve the Champions
yeah,
League. That's the whole idea of the segment. So my first change would be at the very least, can we not have these repeat fixtures? Like if there is a possibility, at least at the round of 16 or the knockout playoffs at some point, if you face these teams in the league already, you don't get them in the round of 16. And whatever and if that means you have to do another like a completely new draw, then so be it. And there'll be certain points where like the teams are snookered and like last draw out if it happens, so be it. But at least then there's a conscious effort to try and get these teams to face different clubs. Um, I don't know, maybe there's a reasoning to it. Maybe it's easier for the teams to scout or prep or whatever. I don't know. But I think eventually there's going to be a lot of fatigue about certain fixtures because Madrid City has happened 6 times in a row. Like 6 Champions Leagues in a row, we've had Real versus Man City. That's fucking insane. Like that shouldn't happen. Like that.
at this point in the competition, or just
No, as
in
in
the
like in
cycle?
the last 6 Champions Leagues, we've had Real Madrid versus Man City as a fixture.
When, at what point? Like,
At different points, like I think there were
yeah, yeah.
semi-finals one season. I think they were
Once
around the
you get,
16 last year as well.
yeah, I think
Um,
once you get like to the semi-finals, you're like, look, just take what you can get. Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I think at
yeah.
that stage, but like if they were showing up consistently in the
Mm,
round of 16 or in knockout phases, I'd
yeah.
be like, okay, then fine. But like, no, like they were,
I
it
think
was the
from quarterfinals
semi-final.
onwards, I think it'd be fair game. I think
Yeah,
because
that's
that'd be
it.
same in the that's it's the same premise as in the World Cup. Like if you're coming from the one group, you're going to two different sides of the draw anyway.
Yeah,
So you would only face each other until you get to the final, which makes sense. So you might just need to do something like that. The other thing I would do as well for the knockout playoff, I'd make them one leg. I think having them kind of like two-legged, I think is a little bit redundant in my opinion.
yeah,
Now, like I think that's like I like the way UEFA do their their Euro playoffs, for instance, where they give the higher seed team the home leg. I think
yeah.
that's fair. I think that's a good way of doing it.
Well,
So I think
they've
I
slightly
think
adjusted it in that, like, yeah, it's two-legged, but the higher seeded team
mm,
gets the return leg at home.
yeah, I like that. That's a good set. That's a good
Yeah.
system. So
See,
like
that's the
Arsenal will
thing
get
is,
like home ties themselves, and same
yeah,
with Liverpool and Munich and
yeah.
Spurs. I think yeah,
I
hypothetically, yeah.
think that's what kind of bothered me about this latest kind of like hand wringing over all the English teams getting
Mm.
absolutely battered in this recent round. It's like the English teams were all the away sides, bar I think maybe Newcastle.
Newcastle the only home
And
game, home
yeah,
team. Yeah,
I was like, it's really difficult to win an away game in the Champions League.
yeah.
Like that's all this showed. Now, right, you can discount Spurs. Let's face it, did anybody expect Spurs to get anything out of Atletico Madrid? I sure fucking didn't.
I'm actually shocked they scored 2 goals. To be honest, like that's
To
a
be
scary.
honest with you, yeah, like that's for me is the most surprising thing.
Mm.
Atletico looked surprisingly porous and vulnerable
Yeah.
to just being run at, and I'm
Well,
like,
we beat
really?
them in the first in the league phase as well, and that was at the height of like our kind of porousness as well. Like we
Yeah,
we were 2-0 up in like 6 minutes, which is insane, and then they came back at us, and I think it ended up being 3-2. So, like I said, they do have it in them if we wanted to use that kind of vernacular. So, um, yeah. So there
yeah.
is always the hand wringing, and then there's the conversation about fatigue and all this sort of stuff. But like, come on, like let's
So
not. Yeah.
fatigue is a thing. I'm not saying it's not a thing. I'm just
Mm.
saying the fatigue is coming from elsewhere. Like,
Yes.
it's coming from outside the house.
Yeah.
The fatigue is not from inside the house. It's from
Mm,
all the other shit they keep bolting on. If the players just had to contend with a couple of more extra Champions League games in the season, I think they'd be okay with it.
yeah.
It's all the other shit that they have to do. They're not okay with any of that.
And also, like, just on a kind of point of order as well, it is kind of inherently a good thing that one league isn't dominating Europe either. Like,
Funny, I was
yeah,
about to interject. You were on a roll there when you said it's somehow this current new format has disempowered or somehow disfavored the Premier League, and I was about to interject and going, that's a good thing.
it is a good thing. Absolutely. Yeah,
That's a
no,
very
I
good
was,
thing.
I was on the horse here about that
Yeah,
because, like I said, like if we were to presume that like the next rounds kind of like or the second legs kind of follow the form guide a little bit, let's just say for argument's sake that Barcelona knock out Newcastle, Liverpool like complete the deal against Galatasaray, Arsenal beat Leverkusen. They're like immediately you're down to three English teams. Because I don't like maybe Man City will do a comeback against Real. I doubt it. So you're down to Arsenal and Liverpool and maybe Newcastle, right? Maybe. But at the very and maybe Chelsea. Who knows? Magic can happen in second legs of games. So let's just
I,
say
I'm not betting on that.
I'm not betting on
I
that
think
either
I
now, in
think they're
fairness. Like
fucking
the idea
boned.
of me of Liverpool Chelsea four times in 1 month, hypothetically, between that and the FA Cup, fucking no.
Yeah,
We're not,
exactly.
we're not doing that. Not in this household. So at the very least, like, the two like those six clubs immediately getting nerfed to two is inherently a good thing for the Champions League. Because I hypothetically in like the height of the
Doesn't that
what I would
threaten the
call
coefficient?
well, see England already got the coefficient. That's the thing.
Oh,
But
they've already gotten it. All right, then. Right.
yeah, like the coefficient now, this is where my proper fucking like autism kicks in here because I'm looking at those numbers going, I fucking love coefficients. This is the part I like. So like one positive is that they're the UEFA are just so open with how the numbers work now, so you can actually do the maths yourself. This is more for me, more than anything else, as in my capacity as a Shamrock Rovers fan, going like, well, if we win these three games, then fuck, we might actually get a second league like position for the
Yeah.
league, and this is a good thing, and fuck balls and all this sort of stuff. Um, sorry, I had to get that one in.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but at the very least, England acing the league phase already guarantees that they're going to get the fifth Champions League spot, basically, because there's just not enough games to win back those points. So it's basically a toss up between Spain or Italy to get the other ones, and it's probably going to be Spain realistically, because I think there's only Atalanta is going to get knocked out, and I think Bologna and Roma are meeting each other in the Europa League quarterfinals, and I think Fiorentina will probably get to the final of the Conference League realistically. But they're on the shitter side of the draw, so they've still got like Palace or Shakhtar Donetsk or Troy Parrot to deal with on their side
Yeah.
of the bracket. So
Bad
so chances are it's not going to go to Italy. So in a way, like if you were working as a cohesive unit, the Premier League have already done their job and got their fifth place. So that's something. Um, but yeah, in terms of like I suppose in the kind of the whole shake-up of it is, I would say as well the actual prize money for UEFA is so much better as well. It's a bit of a drop in the ocean for the English teams in that sense, but I think it's been a godsend for the other leagues because we don't really appreciate how on their knees the likes of the French league and the Spanish league actually are when it comes to prize
Yeah.
money. Like there will be teams like I'm not even thinking like Real and Barcelona. Like Barcelona are desperate for this prize money. Like they are probably like fighting for their lives to a certain degree when it comes to the actual prize money. Because again, chances are they're going to get Atletico in the next round. They'll probably fancy their chances against them. So Barca are happy, like quietly confident of getting a semi final. That money is massive for Barca. It's huge. They need that money. Like any coppers they can get is massive. But I'm
Toss
even
into that
thinking
black hole that they call a finance.
exactly, yeah. But I'm even thinking like, okay, it's a bit of a drop down in prize money, but from the Europa League, Celta Vigo were very close to administration like a few years ago. Like Iago Aspas had to put some of his own money in to save the club, or he took a pay cut, I think it was. I think he reneged his own pay for 3 months so that, like, because he was the highest paid player at the club. And Real Betis, like, obviously kind of promoted from the Conference League, if you like, could very well go far themselves. So, like, these teams get nothing from La Liga because they're not Real and Barca. So now they actually have like an avenue to showcase themselves as well. And even speaking from like personal experience, the amount of money that Shamrock Rovers' run in the Conference League made was staggering. Like it was perfect timing in the sense that this new format opened up the doors for Rovers, and we ended up getting to the round of 16, which is or the knockout playoff, I should say. And it was unbelievable. Like I think it earned the club about €6.5 million. And again, I don't want to say how bad the prize money is in Ireland. If you know, you know. It ain't
Yeah,
6.5 million. Like Shelburne getting a draw against a team in Europe was the same as a league win financially. Like
yeah,
that is incredible. So like even that run that Shelburne had in Europe is 2 million. Like that's money that will go directly into the club to possibly buy Tolka. That's huge. That is fucking massive. For Rovers themselves, like they made a massive loss one year by not getting Europe. So they budget for Europe now. So that run basically paid for the year beforehand because they took a loan out to cover the losses of that season. So that got all paid back in one go. And the windfall of basically kind of get like a bonus conference league run this past season, because realistically, the way they went through the long way and got a tough draw against Santa Clara, somehow beat them, and that's an extra 2 million now that's gone directly into the squad. Like it's a bigger strong depth now, and they're targeting the Europa League, which would be unbelievable if that happens. So I can see from even like granular level, from like from a relatively low league as Ireland is, they're like the incentive to get into Europe and get that UEFA money is fucking massive. Because it also like gives the kind of solidarity money better for the league as well. So the
yeah.
better Rovers and Shelburne would do in the league, the more money that Pats and Bows and everyone else gets in the league as well. And especially because it's a small league, it's a bigger dividend.
Hmm.
And the one league I would say that have really been shown up with this new format has been Scotland. Because what's happened is they've obviously lost their seeding way down the line because other like leagues like Belgium and Portugal have overtaken them, and Turkey, so they don't get that luxury. They took Russia's spot in the league
Yeah. Hmm.
after a while, so they got like two Champions League spots back, and they squandered them. Like I think Celtic are knocked out. They're out of Europe now, so there's no Scottish teams anymore now in the in any European competition. Aberdeen were bottom of the Conference League, so it was an eye opener for them to go, oh shit, we really are miles behind the standard in Europe. So I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good barometer to actually see how far behind you actually are,
Yeah.
and as I said, speaking on a domestic level, it was good to see where we actually are ourselves. Like we got a woeful draw this past season, but we're still up against teams like Shakhtar, who will probably win the Conference League. Palace obviously got shells, so you get a good idea of like what to expect from other teams. Um, so I think in a weird way, I actually like the Conference League setup more because it's actually just that one or two less games, so that like it suits the smaller teams better, while also giving the showcase to certain kind of leagues in that sense. Um, but yeah, do you know what? Gun to your head, Neil. Who do you fancy win the Champions League? Do you think you can do it this year? You are on the
Oh,
proverbial easier side of the draw.
fuck it. I'll say, yeah. I'll say Arsenal could do it.
Hmm.
I'll say we could do it.
I would say, like, going by the bracketology, the final would be Bayern versus Arsenal, I would say.
We're gonna have issues with that.
Yeah.
We're gonna have issues there.
This is the
But
Bayern Munich that beat Atlanta 6-1 in the
we've
round of 16, I should
we've
say.
got players coming back from injury. Our squad's coming back into it now. So we've got a lot of important players coming back in, and we've got a good few players who can just play one or two good games for us.
Yeah.
They can be subbed in and they can really kick it. So look, I'm confident for it.
Yeah,
Quietly confident.
I think you're in a good place for it, really, because like really the only kind of competition you have on your side is probably Bodo Glimt, to be honest. Like,
Yeah, Jesus.
which is incredible to say. It's absolutely unbelievable. Like really, all joking aside, Barcelona is your biggest threat, but this is a unbelievably gimmicky Barcelona team.
I
That
would actually enjoy
yeah,
getting Barcelona and stuffing them. I
yeah.
really, really would. I have
Like
to
it's
admit, I
a
would.
it's a glass cannon upon a glass cannon, really.
Yeah,
Like it's yeah. Like I think Chelsea played them in the league phase. I watched that match, and Chelsea just were phenomenal against them. They were so good. It was just like again, it was while Maresca was still in charge. It was like I will say one thing about Maresca, and it's probably why he will be the Man City coach next season. By fucking God, he can make a good game plan. He knows how to beat specific teams. He's very, very good at that. Almost to an annoying point as well. It's like, fuck, how do you know the secrets? Like, how like,
Yeah.
small little things like that. He was able to find solutions. Like, for what's worth, I think it's going to be Bayern Arsenal in the final myself. Uh, because I don't think Real will beat Bayern in the current form. Bayern are just annihilating everyone in their path.
Yeah.
And they have a much better squad as well. I think having Luis Diaz and Harry Kane in the same squad is a fucking cheat code because Diaz is just doing that wide player work that Musiala would do, and Musiala can now go on his natural side. It's like, oh shit, okay, now this is the
Yeah.
trouble. Their midfield is it's not great in fairness, but they have players there. They've got people that can slot in to do stuff like that, and the defense is pretty solid too. So I think like they've got everything they need to win. Um, but I think, but in that hypothetical, I think Bayern would probably win that final, really, just based on
Yeah.
form alone. But it's gonna be a cracking match either way. I think if that ends up being the final. Um, Europa League wise is a bit of a tasty one. In fairness, I was just even looking at the brackets here because I know we haven't spoken much about it. Um, really, it's like all the good teams are on one side of the brackets. Like basically Villa, Roma, I'm not going to count Forest because they're going to get knocked out. But basically Porto, Roma, and Villa are all on the same side of the brackets. And really, I would have said fancied Porto or Villa to win the whole thing. Because it's not a bad Porto team either. Like it's not
You're just
like
counting in the Unai Emery factor there, aren't you?
yeah, a little bit, yeah, as well, because like they're not in they're out of the FA Cup. Their kind of league form is kind of dwindling a little bit. So this is kind of a nice opportunity to get themselves into the Champions League, you know, um, because realistically they probably would be able to beat every team on their side of the brackets. Like they were if they were to come through all these teams, they probably would win the whole lot. But again, like cup finals are weird for a reason. If you go
Well,
look
they are the
down,
bookies' favourites at 9-4.
yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
Leon are 6-1. Porto are
Mm,
7-1.
yeah.
Roma 8-1. Betis 10-1, and Bologna 16-1.
Yeah, again, that's probably based on the brackets as well, on the seeding as well. But Leon were top of the league anyway, so I think that kind of explains. And they're on a winning streak, like just generally in Europe as well. So, maybe a bit of a renaissance from Leon there as well.
Ah,
There's a part of me that thinks, do you know what? Imagine if fucking Robbie Keane got to that final with Ferencvaros Chavros because he's on the easier side of the brackets and like he could do it. Like it's not unheard of. Like he could very well get himself at least to the quarters or semi-finals. You know, like gee, like imagine that living in that fucking world where Robbie Keane is is the most successful Irish manager in Europe. Fuck, that's a
he
world we
already is. He's won the Hungarian league, hasn't he, or something like that?
he'd
Or
be yeah. I think he's fairly good set for it. Like again, Ferenc Chavros kind of should win the league most seasons anyway. So him not winning it is more of a story, I think. Um, Conference League, honestly, based on the teams I've seen in live, it should be Shakhtar's to win. But again, same
funny,
thing.
here, funny you should mention that.
Mm,
Shakhtar are 9-1. They're down. They're quite low in odds to win it.
mm,
The two favourites are joint top, which is Strasbourg and Palace at 10-3.
mm. I don't think Palace are going to win it, to be honest, because the way the brackets are going, they're going to face Fiorentina in the next round, and I think Fiorentina would probably beat them.
Fiorentina
Um,
are 6-1.
yeah. So like Fiorentina's made the final like three times in a row now, or like they were out of the Conference League finals they've had. I think Fiorentina have been in three of them, breaking that streak last year because obviously Chelsea won that. Um, I don't know enough about Strasbourg to make a judgment call on that, but I don't think I could live in the world where Gary O'Neill has won a European League title. So I
Yeah.
don't know about that one. We'll see. To be fair, AK Athens would be good value for it as well. There is some proper good players in that team, and again, the idea that like they could have won the competition and we nicked a point off them would be also fucking funny. From us there, but there you go. Yeah, so that's our European roundup, and we will dip back into that as the season goes on. Um,
Woo!
Neil, we just have just a little bit more time left to talk about our CODs.
Cristiano Ronaldo is a cod. I don't care what it goes. I mean, you can't do that.
You seem exceedingly smug.
about the idea of people, kids particularly. George Little, he's the guy who ran away and left his wife for a young one.
So, again, if you're new to the show, this is our Hand of Cod segment where we are basically going to run down some of the people that have been annoying us or things that have been annoying us in the world of football and just get it off our chest and make us all feel better about ourselves. So, I actually don't know what Neil's cod is this week because he's kept it a secret.
I
No,
wasn't intending of bringing one,
no.
but
So I'm going to vamp while you Google one for yourself.
yeah, my violently Google one.
Yes. So the one I wanted to talk about this week, and again, we've had a lot of heavy cods in the last few weeks between racism rows and world politics and all these things in between. So I thought I'd go for something a little bit light and pleasant this time and talk about Fabrizio Romano. Um, now, I have never been a fan of Fabrizio Romano as a concept. Because like ultimately and again this is gonna sound like a kind of a Guardian headline to a certain degree, and so just imagine me wearing a smart jumper just with my little kind of like portrait on the side here. Like Fabrizio Romano is the perfect journalist in a post-truth world because ultimately the majority of the stuff that he posts is complete bollocks. And it's just that he posts so much that the algorithm basically covers for him. Now this is not like just like general kind of breaking news in a sense. This is kind of well known, but I think what's important to remember with Fabrizio Romano is that he genuinely doesn't get the exclusives himself. He is not a journalist, and he is not somebody that is doing the kind of hard yards like some kind of people out there, like say David Ornstein is always kind of seen as comparable
Yeah.
to him. Or in the past, Jim White would have been the person to have all the agents on the phone, literally at the desk while he's like like giving a sermon on deadline day, as he's getting the information. Great TV back then, has to be said. Again, half the stuff he was getting was complete bullshit as well, but he was getting he had the sources. Uh, Fabrizio Romano's economy is very, very different because Romano is essentially a gun for hire, or rather a mouth for hire, I should say. You can pay him whatever you want and he will say it to camera. Like he is like a Venmo on speed. Um, but what the relationship is different in that basically his all these kind of agents and player representatives and all this will send messages to him to tell the world to bring out kind of transfer stories and all that to drum up interest in their players. And because like this kind of economy has worked out so well that he has like I don't know like fucking 30 million followers or something on Twitter and more on and same amount on Instagram. So he's naturally going to get a rake load of traction for just whatever he says and whatever he does. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be true. All so long as he gets paid and he promotes it and that's it, then that's it, job done. I'd say if you go through the majority of Romano's kind of posts, a lot of them end up not being true. And now, obviously, this like he'll get the plaudits for breaking kind of like regular stories, or at the very least, just getting access to stories. Like I think he's has a terrible habit of breaking embargoes for like the likes of like Italian and German journalists in terms of like break of like transfer news. But again, basically the journalists have realized, okay, fuck the embargo, we just need to get ahead of this guy before before his agent posts to Romano. So that's one thing that's a little bit more like kind of unsporting as opposed to unpalatable. But I think there are some unpalatable things that Romano does because he is just such a whore for money. Um, the Mason Greenwood stuff never seems to go away. Like there is a concerning amount of posts that he makes about Mason Greenwood as a footballer. Because again, his like Greenwood's like agents and his kind of entourage, if you like, keep trying to keep him relevant. So if it's not like result like posts about, and again, it's not even transfer stuff for Romano. He's just posting out stats about Mason Greenwood, about saying he scored 15 goals now for Marseille and League One. Is anyone in the Premier League looking out for him this time? Or like, oh, would Manchester United be tempted to bring Mason Greenwood back to the club? Not a single soul is looking to bring Mason Greenwood back to that club because everyone fucking knows what he did, and just because and simply because it was out in the public in the public view, and it was such a unpleasant and horrid fucking experience for everyone. It's just not going to happen. Stay in Marseille, be around other dirtbags if you want to. That's up to you. But the fact that Romano has absolutely no moral center to basically go, hang on, you want me to promote a rapist? Do you know what? Maybe not. Maybe I won't do that. You know, maybe I'll like skip that job order, but he won't do it. And he's done the same for Thomas Partey in the past as well. So he's completely unscrupulous when it comes to the jobs he takes. Then I find out, I was reading the Substack then during like last week, and I find out, and this was precipitated because he basically just made a post that was about the humanitarian fund from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Or no, he was
Yeah,
an ambassadorial role for humanitarian aid in Saudi Arabia.
The King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center.
Yeah. So this is a sports journalist who is now batting for Saudi Arabia.
The
Saudi
journalist
Arabia,
in inverted comments there, yeah.
yeah, famously beheading a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
So that should probably tell you where he is in terms of the moral center, in that he doesn't have one. And he was pretty much just offered a shitload of money by Saudi Arabia to say some stuff to camera, and that's all he kind of cares about, really. And what's even worse, the "here we go" catchphrase that he is like famous for, not even his. Apparently, he robbed that off his best friend, who he hasn't spoken to since.
Yeah, no, he's a curious one. It's weird, like his extolling of quite odious characters such as Greenwood. It is funny because I didn't think he could kind of outdo himself about that time when he reported that Christian Atsu had in fact had survived the earthquake, when in fact he had not. So like wow, like when you're tweeting out that type of shit to outdo yourself in that regard, that really takes some doing. But yeah, like it's funny. There's a really good article by Ken Early and he wrote about Fabrizio Romano about him, and he comments. He said he mentions about the King Salman Humanitarian Center. And he goes, as an account called Wahab Stats Hub lamented, journalism is completely dead when the biggest football reporter is running paid PR campaigns for state-sponsored initiatives. The bag always wins in the end, but the credibility is completely gone. And Early follows up with, for me, the surprising thing about that story was not that Romano would do an ad for Saudi Arabia, but that there's people out there who would consider him to be a journalist and that he would have had some kind of credibility in the first place. So I suppose that's the kind of thing is I've never considered Romano a journalist. I've always considered him an influencer, a very popular one.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the distinction here as well, is that like a lot of people will put the likes of him compared to Ornstein in terms of like transfer news. Again, journalism is for me more of a skill set as opposed to a job trade. You know, like you can't call yourself a journalist unless you act like one, you know?
The difference between him and Ornstein in that he doesn't, in that Ornstein has like journalistic things. Ornstein will write articles, he will do interviews, he writes for proper publications like The Athletic. He was the odd one for The Guardian as well, and so on and so forth. Whereas Romano is just solely just transfer news. Like it's a curious business model in that he's built an entire lifestyle, and quite a lucrative one, amazingly enough, around basically giving out information that was going to be released anyway.
Yeah, but again, the cycle is all about paid PR as well. That's a curious bit. Like David Ornstein doesn't do PR on this on the behalf of like a Arsenal player, let's say. Like if Gyökeres scores like a hat trick, like Ornstein goes, oh, he's on the move, gang. Like, you know, it's this sort of shit. It just doesn't fucking work. And it's also a case of like the stories he has are quite circular as well. Like I'm actually looking through his feed now at the moment, and he's running a story here about Napoli triggering Rasmus Højlund's like option clause, like buy clause. I was like, is that news? Like, because like he's basically regurgitating something that the Napoli director has said like a few days ago. But again, it's because like he will have timed this post because basically like Højlund has scored a goal or something like that, so therefore it's high on traffic. Like it's all part of the economy. Or like there's talk about like contract extensions for like Declan Rice and Timber. That's not, I don't wouldn't count it as news. There's a post here about Morgan Rogers, nothing to do with transfers. It's about like Michael Carrick saying, yeah, he's pretty good. I should think he should go to play for England. Why are you putting those two players together? Doesn't make fucking sense, you know? So it's a lot of it is more to do with like PR and like getting certain names out there at certain times to fit algorithms. Um, so like I said, like he is just like hourly posts about people, by the way. Like it's bizarre and none of it's transfer news. It is literally just like get those names out there and put my name attached to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, at least I suppose the thing about the video for the humanitarian aid and relief center
Mm,
was that it was actually labeled ad.
yeah.
I'm like, I was like, holy shit, he's actually approaching something like integrity there. Well, not really, but
I
just
suppose
with regard to that,
he kind of had to be, he had to do it as
yeah,
well, isn't it? Like there is there is a kind of thing where like if you are going to pretend to be a journalist, you suppose you kind of have to like like give that kind of like veneer of like of professionalism, I suppose. But but yeah, I suppose like again that's why I think like he's the perfect for the kind of post truth society because on Twitter like realistically like football journalists are like middle-aged men essentially and like the big loud phone is very scary if you don't know how to use it. And most people like kind of do in a sense, but like if you're like there's certain people in every kind of fandom that you kind of look to as actual proper white smoke. Like Liverpool's one is Paul Joyce because he's a local he's for Liverpool Echo and the Times. So like if you see a post from him, bam, that's gospel. That is on the go. That is happening, especially in the Everton side. Likewise, like Arsenal use Ornstein as their god for like Space Odyssey style. Like once that slab activates and Mesut Ozil appears, that's when you know it's going. It's when it's on. You know?
And I think that there was the fans that more so kind of did that. That I remember an interview with Ornstein where he
Yeah,
was always surprised that he was like, I don't understand why I got so tied to Arsenal of all things because like
yeah,
whenever I announce anything and it's not Arsenal related, they're the first people on to be going, "What the fuck is this, bad?" Like, no, you know,
yeah. But I think that was the joke of it all in a sense as well. Like
yeah.
that, like I remember like Liverpool fan base doing something similar with a few other journos, and like someone broke the news of Mo Salah signing, and like it was a joke of like it's like I would blow you right now if I could see you, and it's just a reply with I'm a bit busy, mate. Like it's that kind of there was that kind of fun dynamic, but obviously Twitter is a dark and seedious place since, so it's not quite the same. But yeah, it is a kind of thing where like these lads would be kind of like just not able to keep up with this like media machine that Fabrizio Romano and his people is. And again, when you're able to just kind of drop in a little ad here and there in between your transfer news, that tells me that like you're not really in it for the love of the game or for journalistic integrity. You're in to get paid essentially, and unfortunately, he is getting paid a lot at the moment. So there you go. Neil, have you got yourself a cod for this week?
No, but I couldn't do anything better than Fabrizio Romano.
Hmm.
He is a pile of shit.
I mean, look,
um,
we could give out about Gianni Infantino for a while. I mean, we haven't done that yet on the. I was going to just do
well,
an entire podcast about that.
we'll wait until the 100% of all of his Peace Prize recipients starting wars kind of wears off, and then there's time. There's time. He'll
Yeah,
keep.
Igor Tudor would he be a good cod considering that conversation?
I don't see Tudor as a cod. I see him as a man who's been dumped into a difficult situation, and I don't blame him too much for Spurs.
Hmm.
He's not doing a good job, but then who would in that? You know,
Yeah, this is
in
true.
that thing, you know.
Yeah,
Better coaches than him have done worse job, are doing bad jobs there as well.
yeah.
So
What's your feeling on the Edu situation? Because I think he's kind of reaching cod behavior here as well, isn't he? From like from sacking up the Arsenal post to then just leaving the Forest one in similar manner.
well, I think he has a lot to say about this. Well, sorry, some of it's his fault, others it's not.
Mm,
So yeah, he left Arsenal kind of acrimoniously. Don't think too many people you know, um, were pleased with the manner in which he left. He very clearly left for the money. I don't care about that. Oh, I'd get to be in charge of the multi-club model. Look at the other fucking clubs. One was like Rio Ave. The other one was
Olympiacos would have been.
Olympiacos. Yeah,
Yeah.
where are they? You know,
Hmm.
circling the drain, all of them. So yeah, but also like he chose to go work for a complete fucking maniac.
Yeah. a criminal maniac at that as well. Like, it's kind of refreshing to see an actual criminal owner for a change. It's like all these venture capitalists are too boring to commit crimes. At least this guy has a fucking bowl of heroin. Like,
You know, I, somebody who acts also like a total fucking Hank Scorpio level villain. Like the video he did with
Gibbs White is
Gibbs
hilarious.
White,
Yeah,
Mr. Marinakis. I was like, holy shit!
yeah.
Like that's proper out there. So it was
I
probably
I couldn't stop
terrifying.
laughing at the banner
Oh,
that the
no, I was
Palace
going to say
fans
that.
made.
It was almost certainly terrifying and
Oh,
a horribly scarring incident for all involved. But I couldn't stop laughing. I was
yeah.
like, shit. Then he goes and he scores, quite telling goals and games that might get Spurs relegated. So I'm happy out with that. So, maybe Marinakis is doing me a job. That's why he's not my COD. Anyways. Or that's why I discuss him. But like Edu, so he can't be held accountable for Marianakis.
Yeah.
Marianakis, if anything, Marianakis has proved he does whatever the fuck he wants.
Mm,
So he's not constrained by this petty little things like logic or sense or any other bollocks.
mm,
But Edu did like a month into that job, fell out with Nuno Espirito Santo,
yeah.
one of the best coaches they've ever had. So
Mm,
he went in and then their relationship completely disintegrated within like 2 or 3 months.
yeah.
And then Santo was basically going into press conferences begging to be sacked.
That's happened a lot this season, hasn't it? Because
It
Amorim
has,
was the
yeah.
same
But
as well. Like
it
it was just
started, it
bizarre
really did.
fucking scenes. Like, yeah.
Yeah, but it was so obvious with Santo. Like he
Mm,
was just like, nah, just get me the fuck out of here. Like, he wouldn't
yeah.
have quit because I think if he quit, he'd have lost his payout. But he was just
Mm,
basically begging to be sacked by the end of it.
yeah.
And a lot of that's got to do with Edu. And I think all of Forrest's travails kind of started with Santo leaving, which
Mm,
Edu was the catalyst for. And now he's been banned from his own club. He's on barbecue leave for the next 3 months. And fuck knows who will take him. We won't take him back. We're delighted with Berta.
yeah.
So who knows where he goes from here?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you reap what you sow. But then again, when you decide to sow in a complete maniac's field, eh, it's not as if nobody was. It's not as if the writing wasn't on the wall. It's not as if all of this was hidden. Like
Yeah.
if Marianakis up until now had this kind of really sedate, nice public profile, and it just turned out he's a complete fucking Bond villain, then I'd be like, right, fine,
Yeah.
he couldn't have known. But we'd been saying this shit about him.
You shouldn't be surprised that the farmer has torched his field when he's had a reputation of torching fields. The kind of way.
Exactly, yeah. He's very much in this is the whole leopards ate my face political party thing.
Yes,
I
very
never
much
thought
so.
it was
Yeah.
my face. I think who would have known that working for the unhinged psychopath? I never thought he'd be an unhinged psychopath to me.
He was always nice to me, apart from that time that
Yeah,
he headbutted me in a private bathroom. Apart from that, he was great.
exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, some of it's not his fault. I'll accept that, but
Mm,
a lot of it is.
yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Right then. Well, those are our cards for this week anyway. And by all means, if you have any in yourself listening at home, let us know down in the comments because I'm sure there's always something that's annoyed people in football. Like there isn't a day that goes by that doesn't annoy us.
If there's anything to be gleaned from the internet, is that there is always someone angry on the internet.
Very much so. Very much so. But yeah, so that's we're gonna wrap up our podcast here on that note. And when we come back, obviously we are gonna be in World Cup qualifier mood, Neil. Next podcast that we're gonna do because it's para time. We're hoping for a result against Czechia, trying to set up a date with Denmark at the same time as well. And like ultimately, do we want to go to this World Cup? Like, it's a bit fucking dodgy at the minute. Like, I would have fancied my chances in Russia, to be honest. But yes, that we're gonna unpack some of that in our next episode of this podcast, and we're gonna do a little check-in on the League of Ireland as well, because by the time that comes around, we're gonna be quarter way through the season already, even though it started in fucking February, and that's how top heavy that league is when it comes to fixtures. So yeah, we're gonna run through a couple of those speaking points when we do come back on the Liquid Football Podcast. So Neil, thank you very much for joining us on this episode, and hopefully you've enjoyed. Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully you all enjoyed listening to it at home or watching it on YouTube if you have done. And we'll see you for the next one in a couple of weeks' time, because all of that was Liquid Football.